Okay, moving on to the next process, collecting the requirements. This task will be more focused in decomposing the needs of the customer into the product requirements. So when we say requirements, we can define them as conditions or capabilities required to be present in a product that can satisfy the customer needs. So let's see what are we expected to bring out as outputs here. Okay, we have two outputs to be done. First thing is the requirement documentation, and second thing is the matrix of requirements or traceability matrix. The requirement documents. Now we cannot just say, for example, I want this wall to be painted, and that is the requirement. So that is an not a clear statement. So what should be a clear statement? Should the wall be painted red? Should the wall be painted green? Should it be painted yellow? Or the requirement should it be painted partially? Should it be painted fully? So such expectations are to be added to the requirements using the documentation. Quite specific. Requirement documentation. That means requirements are quite clear. Traceability matrix. Traceability matrix is nothing but the track of all the requirements. In first output, we will be gathering all the requirements in written form, and secondly, we will be tracing them or tracking them against the time. So we have all the requirements pasted in an Excel sheet, and then a timeline is given, and the statuses are also given, whether the requirements have achieved, or how much time do we still need, what resources we should put to achieve these requirements. So that is the requirements traceability matrix. Inputs, I think all of them are here already discussed in the previous requirements. So I'll just read out the list. We have project charter as input. We have project management plan as input. We have project documents, business documents as input. We have agreements from all the parties as inputs. And also, finally, it goes without saying, enterprise environmental factors, organizational process assets also act as inputs for collecting our requirements. Tools. Again, the expert consultation. The expert here could be for doing the requirement analysis. The experts could be from the conflict management, and the requirements could be the experts to collect the requirements. Second thing is data gathering. We have learned how it is done. Data analysis. What kind of data analysis can be used here? Business plan analysis or issue logs can be one data analysis. Policies, process flows, all this kind of data analysis is used as a tools here. For decision making, we have already learned how the decisions are made using voting. There are other kinds of voting also here, like autocratic decision making. This is also, I think, something important in the exam point of view. Just keep it in the back of your mind that the decision making types, right? So first type would be autocratic decision making. What does autocratic decision making mean? It means that one person takes all the decisions. Such decision making type is called autocratic decision making. It might be an important point to note for the exam. And second type of decision making could be multi-criteria decision making. So what happens here is we establish the criteria, we understand the risk level, we estimate the total uncertainty, we evaluate the ideas. So that's all about decision making. Data representation, again, also a big topic. It can be represented as affinity diagrams. Large number of ideas can be grouped based on the categories. Mind mapping can be done. When we say mind mapping, all the ideas collected from the brainstorming meetings, they are again categorized or mapped, based on some commonalities, some differences, some unique ideas are also taken out. So all these things happen in data representation. I think interpersonal and team skills are understood. Context diagram. What does it mean? Context diagram depicts the product scope. It shows the business system and how the people will interact with it. How to explain it better? Do I have the pen? The context diagram is nothing but we have a business system, and with this business system, the people keep interacting with it. When I say interacting, let's take an example of a HR system. So HR management system, what happens when the HR needs a person to be hired? What they do, they have an internal job posting mechanism and also external job posting mechanism. So what happens in the internal job mechanism? The internal colleagues get notified first via emails and all. And in case of external hiring, the external recruitment agencies are hired, or sometimes even the HR directly hires the people, right? So what is happening here is recruiting a person is the context here. So that is the company, and that is the main important activity that needs to be done. And it can be done in two ways, internal and external. So is represented in the form of a diagram. So you can imagine a circle in between, and then on the left we have the internal systems, on the right we have the external system. So how the people are interacting, how internal colleagues are interacting to get this internal job rotation, and how external agencies are interacting with the same circle for the external joining, lateral entry and all. So last thing here, prototypes. We all know what prototypes is. For those who don't know, prototyping is a method to obtain the early feedback by manufacturing it in a non-conventional method. So that will act as a tool to collect the requirements. Because why is it important here? We are gathering the requirements of the product. So whether the requirements are actually achievable or not, we will only understand when we have a product in hand. So, and we cannot manufacture this product by using a full-on production line. So to understand whether these requirements are real or not, a prototype is made. So that is also a very important tool at this stage. Okay, I think it's clear for now. Moving on, defining scope. Defining scope is actually a repeated task. Why am I saying this as a repeated task? Because the collect requirements is, when we are at collect requirements process, it's too early to get the real number of requirements. So at this stage also, we already have final requirements. When this process is taken place, we already have final requirements. So this is kind of a repeated task. Let's see the inputs. When we are done with defining scope process, we will have two outputs, that is the project scope statement and the project document updates. I think we have not talked about project scope statement before. Let me refresh it. So what it contains is, it contains final product scope, it has final deliverables, and it has final acceptance criteria. Because again, as I said, it is a repetitive task. We are finalizing everything here. And it might also have the project exclusions, what are not included in the project. So that is all about the project scope statement. Let's talk about inputs. Are there any new inputs here? No. So all the inputs are also fresh. We have project charter, we have project management plan, we have project documents, all are understood. And of course, we have enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Let's see what tools we need to use in this process. Expert consultation, of course, expert judgment, data analysis needs to be done at this stage. Decision making is also done, by voting. Interpersonal and team skills is also done. Product analysis. We talked about data analysis until now, but what is product analysis? Product analysis is nothing but defining the products or results or services. It's all about examining techniques, right? So how do we test it, right? So it can involve like breaking down the product into smaller sub products, sub assemblies. The requirements analysis could be one technique. Systems engineering, right? So India lacks in system engineering, sadly, but in Europe and US, system engineers are more prominent. So the one who understands the performance of the complete system, not at a individual component level, but at a system level, how a product should perform. So this is the reason why India quite often consults with the Europeans or the Americans or the consultancy agencies for this system engineering technique, right? So that is done in the product analysis. The value analysis can be part of the product analysis. Value engineering, I think we know what value engineering is. Value engineering is nothing but understanding or again retrospecting whether we have an over design. Imagine a product is designed more than what it should work for, right? So in that case, we actually reduce the performance of this product. So that is called the value engineering. So all this comes under product analysis. So that is an important tool for defining the scope.